So hi, my name is Ashesh Badani. I'm the VP/GM of the OpenShift business. The biggest question in your mind right now is, does he realize he is standing between us and fine beverages of our choice? Yes, I do. Multiple texts, thank you, Joe, and all the others who sent me those texts. So give me 10 minutes, and if I'm boring the heck out of you, tell me I am, which these guys do on a regular basis. I've been running the business for about 5 years. There's many folks within the team who've been with the team for even longer, right? So Joe's been around, Mike's been around for a fair bit, Chris Morgan's been around for a long time. From engineering, I think Clayton, Dan, I'm forgetting, right? But there's a whole bunch of us sort of who've been working together on this mission for a while. We've got a whole bunch of others. Diane, thank you. Can we get a round of applause for Diane? Diane's now hosted the third successful OpenShift Commons Day, and hopefully a fourth one to come in Austin.
The next one's in Austin, and I have a sneaking suspicion that we'll get another one in between. So,
oh, excellent, yeah. Excellent. And we love this community, right? It was so great to see the diversity of presenters, right, across industries, right? So whether it's financial services or healthcare, I think we had La Poste from France. Tech, travel, just across the board use cases, using OpenShift Container Platform, as well as using OpenShift Dedicated. It's just fantastic to see the growth in the community, right? So this is all. Should we just kind of click forward here? Perfect. So this is all about building community, right? And we're trying to sort of do it the best way we can, the way sort of Red Hat's been doing, for 2 decades. We're really trying to bring together users of our product. ISVs, SIs, anyone who sort of really wants to think of themselves as being part of the ecosystem. And the ecosystem is not just OpenShift technology or Linux containers or Kubernetes or JBoss. It's certainly all of those things, right? But it's really about solving problems, right? And everything that we're sort of trying to do is how can we work with you to solve problems. Let me flip forward, just real quick. Oh, here we go. To this slide for a minute. Mostly because there was a time, right, we'd go into a conversation with customers, and then we'd say, we're here to talk about PaaS. You guys remember this? That was platform as a service. It's like, well, what's PaaS? What's IaaS? Where's that line drawn? Is Azure PaaS? Is it IaaS? How is that going to change? Then came around containers. Then people start talking about CaaS, containers as a service. Now, what's CaaS? How does it compare to PaaS? Are you in CaaS? Are you doing PaaS? Is it okay to talk to me if you're doing CaaS and someone else is doing it? It doesn't matter, right? What really matters is this, right? Can you have a platform that can allow you to build applications faster, become more agile? Use your favorite buzzword, right? I promised myself I wasn't going to say digital transformation, but I'll say it anyway, right? Someone somewhere will give me, sort of brownie points for having said that, but call it, your favorite thing, right? It's about how do I ready myself or my organization, for all the changes that lie in front of us. You've heard from customers, right? You've heard from users of technology, so the market's real. I still put the slide up because I present, some version of this deck to industry as well as financial analysts. So to just talk about, how this adoption trends that we're seeing, are real, and we expect them to continue growing. I personally believe the containers market forecast, which is at about 2.7 for 2020, right, is woefully under, right? I fully expect for that to grow at, some multiple that's, at least 5x, if not more. And we'll see that, I think, over a period of time, as customers, as users get much more comfortable with the technology. The kinds of patterns that we're seeing, right? So you've probably seen some version of this, and various users of technology talk about them. We're seeing this globally, right? So whether they're users, they're customers, using technology across the world. Customers who want to adopt a container-based platform, trying to solve Kubernetes or container orchestration problems. Customers trying to build microservices-based apps or call them cloud-native apps, and using a series of technologies to help them do that. This notion of a hybrid cloud, right? So some people are sort of confused exactly what a hybrid cloud is, right? So it's this notion of really removing boundaries between a physical instance, your private cloud, your public cloud, and being able to have great portability across all of them, and having the infrastructure to support that. And finally, the fourth pattern that we call business innovation, right? So this is the famous digital X whatever, right? Call it what you want. The notion of change, being able to embrace, next buzzword, right, DevOps, being able to be sort of comfortable with different teams moving at different paces, and being able to grow faster than you have before. Right? So the container opportunity from the perspective of how you can realize value, we believe lies across all of them. And many, many customers are in the throes of multiple of these patterns at any given time. I think the biggest challenge to us sometimes, right, is that sometimes these patterns are driven by an operations team and they're not often talking to development teams. You may have seen this, right? And sometimes, app dev teams are moving really quickly, or line of business are moving quickly, and creating these microservices-based applications, and they aren't necessarily talking to operations teams. Or maybe sometimes InfoSec isn't involved, in the conversation, or sometimes the executive team isn't sort of bought in, right? The question really is, how do you start bridging those gaps? We've done a bunch of work, and not just us ourselves, right, but also in partnership with many other organizations around the world. Really to sort of think about what different kinds of workloads that you have in place and how you can help migrate them or create new ones if you need to. And each of them, right, there's an analysis that has to be done with regard to how much it costs, how much time it takes, and how much value ultimately is created. We've seen a lot more interest now in thinking about bridging what we'll call the stateful or legacy existing app world with the more modern world, right? In the past, there was a lot of talk about just cloud native or stateless or 12-factor driven apps. Increasingly, we're seeing the largest organizations around the world, the most sophisticated enterprises, the kinds of customers that Red Hat has been working with for over 2 decades, right, really care about the investments they've made and being able to do the new just as well as they can make sure the old can move into this new world. So you ask yourself, hey, I'm not a unicorn, right? I'm no company that can, afford to hire Stanford PhDs, hang out in Silicon Valley, give everyone free snacks and cappuccinos. Actually, we are giving them, sorry. Take that one out. Take that off, sorry. Free Jamba Juice or, whatever, right? So doing all that stuff, right? And the question is, how do you get value, right? And we as an organization, as a team, right, across the business units, across engineering, across our partners, we spend a lot of time, with customers to help them make sure that they can get on the journey regardless of, where they find themselves from an adoption perspective. You'll hear from KeyBank, I think John R., right, it's sort of a tough last name to pronounce, is going to present, talking about his journey, as are several others, right? Deutsche Bank is going to, talk about the journey, they've been on. We'll hear from Macquarie, we'll hear from Barclays, right? We'll hear from, many traditional financial service organizations, but many, many others as well, right? We'll hear from GovTech, Singapore, talking about the journeys they've been on to adopt these modern technology platforms, and they certainly do not, any of these organizations, count as unicorns, right? So there's definitely a place for, I think, every kind of organizations to adopt this platform. You've heard this before, I won't waste your time. This slide's important, right? Many of you, who are sort of very focused on just technology, may not really care a whole lot. We found increasingly that as the decisions need to be made, right, it moves up the organization, and people need business value, they need justification. We've done some work, and I think we can make available to anyone who wants it, if you haven't already seen it, an ROI summary of Red Hat OpenShift working with the good folks over at IDC. Who interviewed about a dozen of our customers across North America and EMEA and found some really remarkable results. So I would highly encourage you to read this, review it, ask us questions if you don't understand any of it, and then, of course, share this within your organization, share it up your organization to let them understand that there's huge value. We have many snippets like this, one we took from the Barclays report, right? So Barclays is covering Red Hat and the work we're doing from a financial perspective. And the point that they're making really is the discussion around OpenShift and the problems around container orchestration, as well as building this next generation of applications and making sure the legacy applications can run in this new platform is an extremely strategic decision. And when that happens, right, you'll see invariably more people in your organization getting involved, and you'll see more people wanting justification of that. Obviously, all the discussions you've heard from other users, other customers is key to making sure you can convince whoever it is that you work with, as well as all the collaboration we do in a community like Commons. But there's also data that can help support the decisions you do want to make in your company. I think I'm doing pretty well on time. I speak quickly, right? But I think maybe the one last message I want to kind of leave you with, right, is we are super excited, right? We've been, across this team, right, on this journey for 5, 6, 7 years at least, right? Starting from alcohol, sort of the 1.0 days, through running a platform in public cloud, all the way through kind of, where we are today that, sort of spans deployments across a series of areas. And this summit, we've got more OpenShift users, more OpenShift customers than we've ever had, right? It's many of you in the room. It's hopefully not too many outside by the drinks, but maybe a few, maybe a few. But there's many more throughout the summit, right? I highly encourage you to go through these sessions, right, and hear the different perspectives on how they're using technology, right? Hear about BMW and what they're doing, from a connected drive perspective, using OpenShift, right? I think Volvo was talking as well about the work they've done in moving their web-based Volvo application over to OpenShift. Great talks that'll come from Disney and Pixar about how they're using OpenShift. There was a release today about the Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, talking about how they've used OpenShift. So the diversity of use cases is tremendous. So definitely engage with them, understand how it is they're using the product, and then maybe there's some value to be had for you from that. Also, equally importantly, is the conversations with our partners, right? So regardless of whether you're interested in SDN, software-defined networking solutions, you're interested in storage, interested in CI/CD, monitoring, container repositories, just name it, and there's probably a partner who can talk to you about that, right? So, walk the booth, see if you can run to them in the hallways, and then, understand a little bit better kind of how they're working with us, and, if you can't find them, we're happy to help you. With that, I think I'm done. Oh, finally, thank you to all of you for staying with us the whole day. And over to you, Sam.
Pretty awesome. Really, this is really about you guys connecting with each other over the next 2.5 days.